for at least 20 years because, like I said, I used them in 2006. And so basically what it is you fly over to Europe or anywhere else, I guess, by yourself, and then when you land, you join this tour group. Hello and welcome to Darren's Travels. On this channel, I talk about solo travel around the world if you're a guy, and specifically if this is like your first trip overseas. But today I'm going to talk about what it's like to join a tour group when you get overseas. This topic came up because I was talking to one of my aunts, and she's about 75 years old, and she wants to take her first trip overseas by herself. And so I suggested that she might want to take a tour group, and so I want to explain what that is. Back in 2006, I think it was, I took a trip over to Europe, and I used a tour group when I got there. And basically what I did is I booked everything by myself here. I booked the airline flight, and then I bought the tour package. The tour package, by the way, was called Globus.com back then. I think it's called Globus Journey right now. I checked it just before I turned on this video. But it's called Globus, and I'll put a link here somewhere, and in the description. It's Globus, I think. And their tour group, they've been around for at least 20 years. Because like I said, I used them in 2006. And so basically what it is you fly over to Europe or anywhere else, I guess, by yourself, and then when you land, you join this tour group. And so you're responsible for getting your flights and all that, but they will pick you up at the airport. It's kind of funny because they're standing there with the sign with your name on it when you get off the plane or whatever, or in the pickup area. And it's kind of funny because you feel like you're in the movies or whatever when you're coming down and you see somebody holding your name to pick you up. So anyways, so they pick you up and then they take you to the hotel, and then that first night, that's when you meet everybody. Usually, and when I was there, was about 20 people on my tour group. And this was when I went to Spain, Italy, Switzerland, and England, I think it was. But nevertheless, so you meet all the people that you're on the group with that first night, kind of like a welcome dinner, an orientation, things like that. And so then you spend the next however long it is, 5, 10, 15, 14 days, whatever it is, on the trip, and they just take you around. And you go as a part of the group. So you're kind of by yourself, but you're involved with a group. And I'm sure there's probably 100 different groups that you can find on the internet, but I use Globus, and they're still around, and it was fantastic. And I'll tell you the reason why it was good, and I'll give you kind of like the advantages and the disadvantages of joining a tour group. And then, like I said, like my aunt, she's in her mid-70s, so I think it would be really good for her to join a group if she's going to go over there by herself. And then again, if you just want to go for your first time, so even if you're in your 20s, whatever, this might be a way to do it. I think the advantages, first of all, the number one advantage was that it's cheaper all in for the most part. You're gonna have to pay for your flight no matter what. But when you get there, like the hotels that they put you up in, the food, the dinners, the breakfasts, the lunch, all that stuff it's all inclusive and that they buy for you. And then they get you into all the museums, they get you into all the sites, they get you into all that stuff. And all that, all in all, I think is cheaper than if you were to piece it by yourself, or if you if you travel by yourself. I remember we stayed in a hotel in Paris that was about $3,000 a night. This is back in 2006. It was about $3,000 a night, this hotel was. And the whole package that I paid for was like $1,500. So just that one night in Paris would have cost $3,000 in that 5-star, 7-star hotel, whatever it was that we stayed. So all in all, it's kind of cheaper to travel to see Europe or whatever. And I'll talk about the disadvantages, because if you want to go super, super cheap, backpacking and hitchhiking and all that stuff, sleeping in a tent, then your solo travel around the world could probably be cheaper than using a tour group. But apples to apples, the tour group is going to be, I think, cheaper given what I just said. The second thing is that when you're with a big tour group, you bypass all the lines. And if you know, when you start going to like these major attractions, like I don't know, the Vatican or the Sistine Chapel or Big Ben or all these like different landmarks in the world, there's always a line to get in. Like the Forum in Italy, in Rome, which is a fantastic sight to see. But there's a line to get in there that's probably a football field long line. But when you're with a tour group, you just go right to the front. They let you in, and you go. And so I think that's a super convenient, good advantage of being with a tour group when you're there. And then the second thing, and the other thing, I guess, is, and again, you can do this now by yourself, and I probably could have done it 20 years ago by myself too, but they do your itinerary for you. They take you to all the things you're supposed to see in the city, and so you don't miss anything, basically. And so it's organized for you. So again, that's another advantage of the tour group, and that's what I liked about it. I always suggest people, if you're kind of worried or have any anxiety about taking a trip completely solo, you can join a tour group. And so, and I wholeheartedly suggest it. Now, with all that said, though, there are a few disadvantages of the tour group. And in my experience, there's no real flexibility built in. So you basically, in the morning, you go downstairs, you wake up, and they take you to the sites for the day. And then you come back at night, you rest a little bit, then you all have a dinner together as part of the group. So you really can't go off on your own, essentially, is kind of what I'm saying. But with that said, I remember it was in 2006 for sure. I remember we were in Paris, and I remember that we were going to the Louvre Museum. I guess that's where the Mona Lisa painting, I think, is at. Anyway, so the tour group was going there. And I asked the director if they would drop me off at the Champs-Élysées, because it was like the last day of the Tour de France, and I wanted to watch the tour in 2006. And so they did. They dropped me off, and I sat down there for about 5 hours waiting for the tour to come through. And then I can't remember how I got back to the hotel, but obviously I did. But anyway, but normally the flexibility is not built into the tour group, but they can make exceptions, I guess. And then, like I said earlier, it could be cheaper if you were to piece all it together, but you have to like really rough it, I guess. Again, the flights are going to be about the same to get over there, but once you get there, if you don't stay in like the nice hotels, you don't have the nice meals, you don't go into any of the museums, or you don't go into any of the sites, any of that stuff, then you could probably, do Europe cheaper for sure. But those are the disadvantages as far as I can tell from the group. And then you don't have the same like independence, I guess, kind of like what I said earlier, the first disadvantage. But again, if it's your first time, you can do it, and then you come back home, and then you can take your second trip completely by yourself once you kind of get the lay of the land. And that's exactly what I did. My first trip overseas was with the group, but then ever since then, I've always been completely alone. So hopefully that helps. If you're thinking about taking your first trip and you don't want to go completely solo and you want to join up with a tour group when you get to your country. With that said, this is a solo travel channel, and I try to give advice for traveling the world by yourself, and not with a tour group. And so in this next video, I'll have basically what I do every day when I'm overseas by myself. What is like my day-to-day life, 1 through 5 or 7, whatever, exactly what I do day to day, and what you can do when you're overseas by yourself. So that'll be in the next video right here. Check it out. And thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.